Alright you guys, and we are back with another video, and today's video is going to be a little bit of a story time video. As you read by the title, we're going to go over baby number 4. Baby number 4? Who knows? And we're going to be going over a little bit of my birth control journey and how that's worked out for me personally as myself being on birth control. So if you want to grab your popcorn and you want to have a seat, please stay tuned and watch this video. I do want to go ahead and mention there is a giveaway and the details are down below. If you're not yet a subscriber, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell button. After this video, go ahead and check out that giveaway. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. I always appreciate the love and support. And if you're wondering what this is this right here, this is my son's bike, the baby's bike. It has to go in the kitchen because it is pretty big, and I don't leave it outside because if it rains then I don't want it to get ruined, because it's got this little cute little bag back here that like holds his stuff in it. So if you're wondering what this right here is, that's his bike. So let's start off with my older son. So if you haven't already checked out my story time video, you should probably go check that out. I give a little, you know, rundown of my kids and everything like that. But we'll start with baby number 1, my older son Camron. He is 9 years old. I did have him as a senior in high school. At that time I was not on any type of birth control. I didn't even think about birth control. Like, who thinks about birth control as a senior in high school? We're going into my senior year of high school. I wasn't thinking about birth control. I was thinking about prom, what I was gonna wear, who I was gonna go with, how was I gonna, like, I was thinking about so many other things other than birth control, getting pregnant, having kids. Nobody I knew personally at that age was having kids. So I'm like, you know, I'm not thinking nothing of it. We're all talking about going into our last year of high school. So who's really thinking about having babies at that point? But I met my son's dad. I actually met my son's dad previous to going into summer school. Really hanging out a lot, and you know, one thing led to another, and I was pregnant. And I got pregnant before, well, I found out I was pregnant September 11th. And so that was probably like a month into school, maybe. Not even a month into school. But I found out I was pregnant with my older son. And I told his dad like immediately, because I was like shocked. I was crying. I was emotional. Like being pregnant as a senior was my last thing I wanted to think about. So I immediately told his dad. I told my mom. My mom wasn't happy. Of course, you know, what parent really wants their child pregnant in high school? No career, no goals at that point. Like, what parent really wants their child to have to go through that at a young age? So, I mean, she wasn't the happiest, but my mom's always been supportive. Like, my mom has always been supportive no matter what. It doesn't matter what I go through. It doesn't matter what things I may talk to her about. She has always been my number one 100% support system, and I've always thanked her for that. So when I got pregnant in high school, she supported me. I mean, she didn't believe in getting rid of the baby. She didn't believe in adoption. She was 100% willing to help me take care of this child. So I had my son, and me and his dad kind of fell off a little bit after he was born. We tried to make it work on and off for a while. Didn't really work out. Just wasn't meant to be. I suppose we were both young. We didn't know too much about being in a committed relationship. We didn't know too much about being parents. So it didn't really work out. His family, on the other hand, I mean, I've never had any problems with his family. His sister has always been supportive. His parents have always been supportive. You know, anytime I've needed their help, when they were here, they took him, they helped me with him. They had him all the time on the weekend. So I actually did get to live a normal high school experience. After I had my son, I did not go back to high school. I was told after I had my son that I could graduate with the credits that I had already had and with the grades that I had. So thankfully and successfully, I worked hard my senior year, second semester, graduated with the grades that I had, and the points that I had already had were good enough for me to graduate without having to come back after I had my son. So it worked out. I graduated high school 2010. I was still, you know, being a teenager at that point. Basically, I still wanted to hang out with friends. I still wanted to go and hang out at parties. You know, that's something I always still wanted to live and do. And thankfully his sister really did support me and help me through that, because she was always willing to, you know, if she wanted him on the weekends, she was always willing to, you know, take him on the weekends. She was always willing to help me anytime I needed. So I definitely always appreciated the fact that I got to live like a teenager after still having a son. I know a lot of, you know, young moms and young parents don't have that ability, but I had a lot of good support in my life as a teenager that definitely helped me get through being a teenager. I mean, it was hard, but I've always worked. I actually had my first job when I was 14 years old. So I've always worked. I've never just not had a job. That wasn't anything that ever scared me, was not having a job, because I had a job when I was 14. So when I got pregnant and had a child, supporting that child with my own money was something that didn't scare me, didn't make me nervous. I was always willing to work hard for my money and have a full-time job after high school, or have a part-time job after high school. And then when I graduated, I ended up getting a full-time job. I did end up moving into my first apartment when I was 18 years old. Me and him got a place, my older son's dad got a place together. It didn't work out. I won't get into that story, but it just didn't work out. I moved back in with my mom, and he went back to his parents. So well, fast forward to, I believe about a month after I had my older son, I visited my OBGYN office and got put on birth control. Now, of course, there's plenty of options for birth control for people, whether it's, I think there's the pill, there's the shot, there's the, I believe at the time they called it the Nexplanon. There's the one that you can insert, I believe, still. I don't really know too much about birth control anymore. They changed the names, they changed what they do, where they go. I don't know. They've changed a lot since I've actually had birth control. So a month after my son was born, they do the 6-week post-op or 6-week check or whatever. They asked me what I was looking for birth control. I went through my different options. The pill, I'm not good at the pill. I don't take it. I knew I wasn't going to be able to take it at that young of age. I wasn't going to remember it. So I opted to get the Nexplanon, which is what it was called at that time. And it goes in your arm and it lasts for 3 years. So let's fast forward 3 years later. Got it removed because it was that time, and that's when I actually started dating my middle son's father, Josiah. Now, me and him had actually known each other for quite a while, even longer than my first son's dad. We have known each other since I was like 11 years old. I moved next to his grandma with my mom. I ended up moving into an apartment building next to his grandma's house. So we actually had known each other when I was 11, when I first moved down here from Kansas City. And we started talking, dating. You know, we were young. We thought we was really, you know, in a whole relationship. We was young. So when we reconnected, you know, as we were younger and adults, we thought, you know, hey, it's gonna work out. We've been together. I mean, we were together when we were young, so it's obviously supposed to work out. You know, it's meant to be that way. But you know, and so I took my birth control out. It was 3 years later. That I would personally say, this is my personal opinion. He may have a different response on this one, but in my personal opinion, we chose to have Josiah. It took about 6 months after I got my birth control out to get pregnant. So fast forward 6 months later, I get pregnant with Josiah. And yeah, so I'm pregnant, you know, the 9 months rolls around, everything's good. I mean, we have our off and on fights. Everybody does. Everybody has their disagreements. It happens. But I believe after our son was born, it kind of got worse. And I don't want to say worse like worse, we were fighting more. I want to say worse because we have two different views on parenting. My views on parenting are not the same as his views on parenting. And I feel like that caused a lot of problems. And it's not a conversation I felt like we had before we got pregnant. So it just caused a lot of issues between us and our relationship. Months went by. We just grew apart, grew our separate ways. And then came in like some visitation things that we had to put in place and things like that. We actually went through court and got a court order visitation because it got to a point where, you know, things weren't on the best of terms between us. So I won't get into that right now. That'll be for a later video, future time. So fast forward to the time where I meet my younger son's dad, Isaac. Fast forward to that. I meet him. I will not get into the details on how I met him because that is a definite future video with me and him, a Q&A video, a how we met video. That's a future video with him. I won't get into how we met and everything like that. We started talking. We talked every day. We spent a lot of time together. Fast forward on, I still had my birth control in at that point. Oh, I do apologize. So we'll rewind it back a little bit. After I had Josiah, 6 weeks, your post-op or whatever they call it, I went back, got my birth control put back in for the 3 years because I'm thinking that was my last child. 2 is enough. I have 2 boys. That's enough. I really want a girl, but I don't want to try again because I'm so scared I'm going to have another boy. So that was that. So fast forward again, we're at this point where I've met my younger son's dad. I wasn't thinking about having no more kids, and we decided to get married. So when we decided to get married, I had a lot of conversations with his mom and, you know, my mom and my friends, and, you know, conversations between each other on what we thought about having kids together. So of course he didn't have any kids. I had 2 boys, and I personally felt like he loved my kids in a way that I wouldn't have even imagined somebody else that wasn't family loving my kids. So when I thought about having kids with him, there was no questions. There was no questions. I was like, yes, I'll have kids with you. I see the way you are with my 2 other kids. I love it. You're such a great stepdad. You know, you're such a great person. You're such a great role model for them. You know, I loved it. Everybody else seen it. Everybody else gave him compliments all the time about how good he is with the kids, how good he is, you know, taking care of them and being there for them. Everybody gives him compliments all the time about how great he is with them. So it never was a question in my mind whether having a baby with him was an issue, because there was never no question. So fast forward through the time, we got married. I took my birth control out a year before it was supposed to come out. So I actually took my birth control out a week after we got married. And from that point, I actually did not get pregnant as fast as I thought I was going to. When I took my birth control out with my middle son, I got pregnant 6 months later. When I took my birth control out with him, it took about a year. It took about a year to get pregnant. I believe, yeah, it took about a year because we had been together a total of 4 years and our son's 1. So yeah, it took about a year to get pregnant. And it wasn't that we, you know, were upset with the situation, because during our marriage, there was a lot of issues we were having, whether it was, you know, having distrust and that was my first time being married, that was his first time being married. You know, he's younger than me, so he was not, well, I could say we both weren't the most mature about the way we handled things in our marriage. We, you know, as an adult or as an older person being married, they know how to handle things a lot more and be able to talk through things and be mature about things. We were both young, so we were not mature about anything at all in our marriage. So it ended rather quickly. But before I got divorced, I found out I was pregnant. And it kind of changed a lot for us. I didn't tell him right away that I was pregnant. It took a couple weeks because at that time, like I said, we weren't together. I was in the middle of getting a divorce. At that point, I don't want to have a dysfunctional family. I don't want to, you know, have a 3rd child and not say I at least gave it a try. So fast forward on, you know, we've tried, we've not tried, you know, all that. Here we are, 3 boys down, and I'm like, there has to be a white light somewhere. Like, there has to be a girl somewhere out there for me. So here we are, baby number 4, and I've changed my mind. I don't want any more kids. I have 3 boys, and they are a handful. My 3 kids have very different personalities. My 3 boys have very different lifestyles that they are going to live when they get older. My middle son is very hyperactive. I'm in the middle of trying to figure out what I can do to kind of help him, you know, bring down some of the anger he has sometimes, bring down some of the hyperactive he has sometimes. Like, what can we do so that way you don't get so angry so fast sometimes? So it's just a lot with my middle son, which again, that'll be another video for another time. But yeah, and then my younger son, I don't feel like I fully am ready to jump back into have another baby because my younger son is 1. All of my kids are 4 years apart. They're all 4 years apart, split perfect. But my younger son is 1, and I don't feel like I fully had a chance to experience him and experience his personality and experience him growing up. And if I was to have another child, baby number 4, it would have to be sooner than later because I don't want to start over with diapers. I don't want to start over with formula. That's not something I want to do. And I'm getting to the point where I just want to live my life with my 3 boys and be a boy mom. Adding a baby to the mix wouldn't be an issue. I know that I would have the support. I would have the family. He would be there for me and all the kids. That would never be a question. The support, the financial support, the emotional support, the physical support, all that would be there. All of that would 100% be there. I feel like adding a baby to the mix would be a little too much for me trying to invest all of my time and energy into the kids that I have now. So I have decided not to have baby number 4. I have decided to just keep my 3 boys. And I actually have a appointment already scheduled for my birth control to be put in the first day of school. The first day that my kids go back to school, when my older son goes to the 4th grade and my middle son goes to the kindergarten, I have a appointment to get birth control put in. And I'm sticking to it because you know why? I don't see myself having any more kids. That is it for today's video. I have been ranting on and on and on, but you know, that's a little bit about me and my journey and my kids and baby number 4 and my birth control and all that type of stuff. But thank you for watching through the whole video. Again, if you're not yet a subscriber, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell button so that way you don't miss any future videos. And please make sure to enter into the giveaway. I do not want you to miss out on this giveaway. It is going to be a good giveaway. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you. Again, I appreciate all the love and support and you guys coming back to watch my videos, leaving comments, hitting that like button. It's always appreciated, and I don't know what I would do without y'all. So y'all have a great night and thank you for watching the video. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.